Okay. Are we live? Can someone tell us in the chat? Can you hear us on YouTube? Okay. احنا لايف. هل حد سمعنا؟ تمام، اعتقد ان احنا لايف دلوقتي. تمام. طيب النهارده احنا معانا انجلر جي دي اي ساندر اليس. ساندر بقاله في البيزنس، يعني احنا بنتكلم في حوالي 30 سنة مثلا. ساندر جميل جدا وهيشرح لنا النهارده ازاي ناركتكت الابلكيشن بتاعنا بالسيجنالز بحيث ان هو يبقى سريع. تقدروا تسألوا الأسئلة في الشات حتى لو بالعربي. أنا هترجمها لساندر. و طبعا استغلوا الفرصة ديت، أي حد عنده أي سؤال يقدر يسأل ساندر. I would like to welcome you, Sander, on Angular Egypt. We're really lucky to have you today. And Sander today will be talking about architecting the application for speed using signals, one of the really hot topics, really hot topics today. And yeah, I think I'm really happy to have you, and I would like you to say a few words about yourself. So go ahead.
Thank you, Ali, for having me. And I hope you said all kinds of positive things about me because I have no clue. But
You
hi,
are.
I'm Sander. I'm going to give this small presentation about architect for speed using signals. Who am I? I'm Sander Elias. I'm a husband. I'm a father of four, GDE, web, Angular consultant. I'm building software since 1997. That's a little while. I love to share my knowledge. What I do, what I did, is I'm still looking for a new challenge. If you need an experienced senior developer, architect, CTO, give me a ping. I worked for FedEx before. I worked for Hero Devs. I worked for Pandora. I started the Dutch Angular group with a couple of other people. I created Valadoni with Jeffrey. I'm available for consulting, and I did build Scully. And now we are going to talk about architect for speed. And we're going to start with the first things first. It is demo time. Let me see where I put the demo. There. This is a small Angular application, something you see quite often. It has 150,000 rows, and I can go to the other rows. I can sort on any column that I want. And you see this thing is pretty responsible. I can slowly add more rows, and even while I'm adding rows, you will see it's responsible, and it keeps on working. It is optimized for speed, and it is optimized to showcase what signals can do for your application. But above all,
Am I saying right? You can add to 25,000 euros? Wow.
I can add even more if you want, and I have this small checkbox that
Oh.
makes sure that it is going to be a little bit slower. So I'm going to add 100,000 more rows, and that means that if I go to the end, you will see, hey, there is more now. It's even sorted now. I'm adding rows in a sorted table. Don't do this on a slow computer, though. Not with those kinds of rows. You cannot do 200,000 rows on a slow computer.
Yeah.
My computer is a little bit faster, so that is. This is not something you should do in memory. I'm doing the whole thing in memory because it is for demo purposes. But the whole thing is set up so that basically I can take my service and replace that with a backend database that supports paginating, because that is part of the deal. and it will still work. And you will see if you go to the top, you will see no change because the order is different. And if I go to the bottom, it still updates. And I slowly add, this is timed, so it's slowed down. Oh, and something I can do, and that will probably break. I can filter in my, what is it now, 260,000 rows, and it updates on the fly. So this is what I mean with a performant application. And of course, this is performant because this all in memory on a really fast computer, but even on a slow computer, this will be performant enough, but keep the rows down to 50,000 or something like that if you have like a slower computer with less memory. But the whole thing is architected for speed. I have all kinds of things here. Something that I actually want to show is if you're building for performance, what is important is if you do a for next loop, use the right index. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Open the console. Going to reload the application. Going to wait until it's stable. I have a test run button here. What that button will do, it will go to the top of the data, page through 500 pages, and measure how long that it takes to page through this data. So it's ready. I'm going to hit test run. So it's gone to the 500 pages, and it does now again. But if you look here, this is the first iteration. This is the second iteration. The first I used for track by index was 2.3 seconds, and the second was 3.7 seconds, which is significantly slower. And this is a small screen, so this is like 90 rows of data. If I go to a bigger screen, let's say 100 rows of data, let me first clear out memory performance. You can see I now have like almost 4,000 DOM nodes in the view. You can see the DOM nodes here, you can see the memory here, and the CPU usage. Let me do the same test run once more. It's not showing any data because it's using a resource, and the resource is not ready loaded when I'm already on the next page. This is something I added later on, and then I realized, oh, that kills my demo. But
yeah.
But now you can see that over here, this was the first iteration. You can now see what is happening here. It's way busier. The DOM nodes are going in the thousands. You can see here you have this two star. The first iteration was 3.7 seconds. The second was 25 seconds. So use the right tracking. That is so important. Depending on what you're doing, most of the times you want to use index. Not always, but and that is probably different from what you have heard before, because most people will say, no, you always need to track by index or by ID. Yes and no. It depends on what you're doing. But if you're doing tabular stuff like this and you're just updating what is in the view, you're better off by doing track by index. So let's go back to my presentation, which is here.
We have a question that says, why shouldn't we track, how do you decide when to track by ID or not?
If you need to reuse your DOM nodes, you need to track by ID. If you have tabular data like this, you don't need to hold your old rows because that will be slower. It needs to. There's too much information. If you are doing a visualization where the drawing of a node takes a lot of time, and If you draw a new node, it's going to be very, very different from the other one. Not only data, but also shape. Then you are probably better off for track by ID. So,
Okay.
well, I agree. The table demo is boring, but it is fast.
Uh-huh.
But I know. Let's dive a little bit deeper. How can we architect for speed? This is going to be a long slide,
Okay.
I think. KISS, not a band. Do you know what KISS means?
Keep it simple and stupid, I guess.
Keep it stupidly simply. Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it super simple.
Yeah.
Indeed, that is it. That is one of the single responsibility principle. That basically means any component, directive, service should be responsible for one thing and one thing only. It's part of KISS, but law of Demeter, also known as the principle of least knowledge, probably something you heard of before. Localize as much as possible. I don't hear this one much. It is under highlighted. Keep things reactive. If you are going to build for speed, make sure that if there is an update, it comes as fast as possible on the UI. And that is where you need to keep things reactive. Lazy load everything. Really, I mean it. Lazy load everything. I can show it in my application. It is a very fine-grained application, and it loads a boatload of code. But are also, I think, the biggest part, aside from my third-party library that I use for random data, I think the biggest part is something like 10 kilobytes.
Mm-hmm.
Use the platform. This is something that I miss a lot. People are building things and wrapping diffs and wrapping stuff inside diffs, inside diffs, inside diffs, and then slap on thousands of class names. And all of this stuff needs to be shipped to the customer. Every DOM node takes time to render. And if you put in too much, it is going to be slower. So use the platform, use HTML, use CSS. You have a dialog element, which is basically a model dialog that is inside the browser. You need to ship 0 JavaScript to use a model dialog. Pop-ups, you can have CSS and HTML pop-ups. You have to ship 0 JavaScript to use those things. Use those things. They are in the browser. They are well supported. And they just work, and you don't have to ship any code.
Yeah.
And one.
I would like just to explain this a little bit. I guess using the platform HTML and CSS. اللي ساندر يقصده هنا ان احنا مثلا ممكن بدل ما نستخدم مودلز زي Angular Material Model او نستخدم third party model library JS whatever. احنا عندنا ال native HTML tag model dialog ممكن نستخدمه احسن بكتير من القصة دي. We have a small question like what is localize as much as possible? You mean like translating the application?
No, this is localizing. I will come to that.
Okay.
I will show that. I will show that in a little bit. So yield the power of Angular. I don't think I have to explain that, but I'm going to explain it a little bit anyway. I actually mean use services. I see so many applications that put all of the logic inside of components, and that makes things slower. You don't think about it, but that hinders performance because numbers of reasons that I'm not going to them. And yield signals. The combination of signals in services is so powerful because you have like reactive services from the get-go if you do that. Let's see. Code time. You remember the table?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you the entire component that shows the whole table and everything that goes with it. This is basically the landing page. I have table settings here. I have a table head, sort prop. This is a component. And I have a track to use. Remember that I have this test button with this two, track by ID and track by index. So I have basically two loops and I'm switching between them using an if, which is basically half of this code will not be needed in a normal application. I have a T-body, I have a table row, and this is it. This is the entire, this is the code driving the whole table.
That's it?
That's it. So
Okay.
probably I should explain this a little bit.
Yeah.
I have a signal table, and this is stupid because I don't need to define that because it is a signal table, which is basically a service that holds all the table state. I use a filter. I've shown the filter where I did the highlighting. The filter is being used. I have a helper T-body highlight, and then I have specialized TD cells that are handling this highlight, but that goes outside of the normal program flow. That's basically a couple of directives that help with the highlighting of the code. Mm-hmm. Also there, I'm now doing DOM manipulation for that. Pretty soon it will be possible to do that with CSS and be faster. And then I need to rewrite this thing to use CSS only for the highlights. I don't know if it's landed already, but it will be soon that you can use a little bit of CSS to do the marking stuff.
Wow.
Yes. Keep yourself up to date.
Yeah, I'm not. I guess.
So, and then I have a computed page. And what is the computed page? That is a signal with strings. And I'm pretty sure that are the IDs that I need to show. Remember that I talked about localizing and only using the data that are necessary for the part that you're dealing with. I only need IDs here because in my thing, for ID of computed page, track index, and the only thing I'm here doing is I'm handing it over to the table row component. Mm-hmm. I want to show something quickly in here. Remember, I have this thing. If I inspect this one, you will see that I have a table body, I have a table row, I have a table cell, I don't know why they call it TD. It should be TC, but okay, it's called TD. You see, I have no unnecessary wrapping. There is no extra stuff. I'm just using the plain DOM. So back to the code, which is on 3.
We have a really quick question. Like people are asking, like, how do you use normal HTML tags and at the same time you can bind to it? Like,
I was about to show that.
Okay.
So
okay.
That is a properly timed question. Let me first go to my table row. Again, I was talking about small components, localized stuff. This is my table row. So I'm using my selector as tr person ID. So that's how I do it. I use the selector. I use an HTML element inside of my selector, which is perfectly legal, and it even will work with selectorless components in the future. So this is our proper thing to do. And this means that I have a table row, and in the table row, I have table definitions, table cells. All the cells are in the row. You see, there is no fancy stuff going on here. I have a button for the delete, and then.
So basically, what you're doing is actually you're taking the selector, you're saying tr, and that's your selector. So because normal tables would not actually take components, so you are advantaging yourself by adding the selector as a tr. Let me explain this in Arabic. سندر عامل ايه هنا؟ سندر كاتب السلكتور تي ار، تمام؟ فهو التيبل عامة لو انا جيت حاولت احط جوه التي ديز والتي ارز ديت كومبوننتس، التيبل مش هيرندرها، لان التيبل ليه ستراكشر لازم يستنى تي هيد تي اتش تي دي والحاجات اللي هي الستراكشر بتاع التيبل. فساندر عمل ايه؟ خلى السلكتور تي ار اوف ا بيرسون اي دي، فضحك على ال HTML خلاها تي ار، وفي نفس الوقت استغل الكلام دوت بان هو يحط كاستم كومبوننت جواه. Yeah, you can continue, Sander. That was
Yeah,
a really cool trick. Yeah.
I know. I'm here for the cool tricks. So again, in here, I need not my table state because I'm only showing one row that has nothing to do with the table state. So I'm injecting my sample data service where my data is coming from. I have a person ID, which I got for, which is an input. And I'm using my my service exposes a resource, and I have a resource where get by ID. So basically, this loads the person and this loading state and everything of this thing. I created a small read prop method that makes it easier for me because I need to do a couple of different things in the table. If I'm paginating, you saw that.
People love
If
your
I'm going,
trick on YouTube. They love it.
you see here that if I'm scrolling, not all the lines come at the same time. That is by design because there is a little bit of randomness when the resource is going to be fired. It is real async code, so I'm not faking anything with sync code. It is really async code, so you can see that not all the rows come at the exact same time there. And for that, I created a read prop thing, and the prop is a key of person, which is my data model. And I'm saying, hey, if I'm loading, I'm going to return an empty string. And if I have a value that I'm not loading anymore, I'm just going to return the property. And if the property is not there, that might be so because if you have an empty line, which is at the end of the table, probably you have a couple of empty lines here. There is no data more for those lines. I'm showing the stripes instead of an empty string. So there's a little bit of state handling inside of the component, but that is really component state. And that belongs indeed in the component. So this whole thing is a whopping 38 lines of code, including some comments in there and including the template.
That is so cool, really. That is really so cool. Even Susanna is saying right now, now I want to rewrite our table at work. Yeah, that is so cool.
Yeah, and remember, I have a couple of more things there. I have this header here where I can say more or less cells on screen. I can create multiple things, but I have basically the table settings thing here. And I'm using a slider instead of a thing on the right because I was lazy and I wanted something simple. I have those buttons that are repeating.
We have a question. Are we using any mechanism regarding virtual scrolling or no?
Yes and no. I will come there.
Okay,
because that is in the state. But yes, I'm doing virtual scrolling in memory, but that should be done by the database. So I really don't want to emphasize that because you should be using pagination of your database server, and you get pages. And if you need to scroll through a lot of pages, perhaps you should get the previous and the next page also automatically. That there are possibilities that if you go to halfway, you go, okay, I'm going to get that page. When that page is done, you get the previous and the next one. so that you have a little bit leeway to scroll the data. Right now, I'm reading every row individually. In a real situation, I would read pages from the server. I say, "Hey, server, give me page 10," and then when the whole page is there, I will split it out to the rows.
There is someone saying that they had a case at work where the client wanted to show 500 rows at one time. And this is what the business needs. So, do you think this will actually be a bad experience, right?
Yes, that will totally be a bad experience.
Okay.
Don't
do it. تعملهاش بقى.
No, don't do that, because you are creating a boatload of DOM nodes there. Remember, I have this thing here. Right now, I have 750 DOM nodes. If I'm going to blow this up to 250 DOM nodes, now I'm having like almost 9,000 DOM nodes.
Yeah.
And this works fine. It is not even a big problem. But if I go to the next page, which is not possible if you are on the last, but this is going to be a little bit more sluggish. And this thing is rated for performance, but even it will be a little bit more hampered there. It still works fine though. But if I keep it pressed, you will see that I'm on the next page before everything is being painted.
Yeah.
So that is the sluggishness that you are going to get. And that is basically, you are going to update 6,000 cells. Or 8,000, there is something, but I think around 8,000 cells. You're pasting 8,000 things to the UI. It is possible and it works, but I don't think there's a single user that is ever going to use this amount of data. What is the user going to do with this? Take a pen and paper and write it down?
I think like some businesses require these kind of stuff. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I really, really doubt even that. If they ask for something like this, probably what they really, really want is an export to Excel button. You select what data that you will, and you give an export to Excel because they want to do graphs or something like that with the data that you are giving them. But there is no one ever going to read a 500-line table from the screen.
We have a question. What you say means every row here based on your structure is reused while we track by index.
Yes.
Okay.
And why is it reused? Because it's actually a nice question right now. Because I'm using a person ID as an input, this input gets updated because it is a signal, so I just get an update. Because that is updated, this reference will get updated, and all my data gets updated. So my row stays exactly the same, but only the contents get rewritten, which is so much more cheap than it is to throw away the entire row and build a new row. So if you are doing this kind of things, use track by index. If you are doing some kind of graph or graphical things, or having rows that are really, really completely different, which makes no sense to me, because why would you have a table where if all the rows are different? But there might be a use case for that. Then it might be smarter to use track by ID.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, if I'm looking that way, I have Ali over there on a different screen. So
yeah.
Also, I have a small delete here, which is, I didn't show that, but it still works. Let me put a couple of less lines so that I can. If I just delete a line, now it is gone. So you can see everything shifts and it's right back. And the nice thing is, I don't need to refetch all of this data because those resources are there already. I just refetch the one row, the bottom row that is scrolling in.
Okay.
So
Is shifting kind of, does it makes performance issue? That's the question.
shifting the row.
Yeah, like when the row goes up, I think what he means, if the row goes up, does this is sent to the DOM, please re-render the whole cell from the beginning, or?
Yeah, I need to rewrite all of those things. Yes,
Mhm.
but because I'm using signals, that is going to be really, really quick.
Okay.
So yes, if you have a big table and you need to delete a row, please pay attention. That might be a costly operation.
Ah,
If you
okay.
have set up your application in the wrong way and you're not using track by index and you're not using signals the way you should be using signals, then it might be slow.
Okay.
But overall, it's not a big issue. Let's go to the table settings, because remember the top bar with all the buttons there, and
Yeah.
that's basically where I can do all of the settings. So I have my data that comes from a data service. The data service is really not interesting. That generates some things on random. This is all random generated data, so that is not interesting. But it mimics like real async data, so it's not. It is an interesting thing to look at, but it's not interesting for the talk. I have a signal table, which holds my table state, which is the part that I'm basically looking at. My test perf thing. Oh, yeah, remember that I had a knob,
The
a button.
the button where you tested. Yeah.
Yeah, this thing. Running the test is a part of my table component, my signal table component for my top component. So it's not in here, it's part of the overview up top. So that's why I have an output.
ودي الحاجات اللي كان ساندر بيتكلم عليها في الاول، اللي هي السوليد ريسبونسابيلتي، ان الفلتر مش مسؤول على انه يرن التست، ولكن هو بيemit اب للبيرنت عشان البيرنت هو اللي يرن التست. I'm sorry for interruption.
No problem. I have the track to use again for the index. That is basically just for demo code. That is not something you usually have. A page size, which is basically just the page size, the filter, the add number. There is 25, but I do 25,000 if I add 25 pages of data. I have a slow add also for adding data more slowly, so I can demo it a little bit later. And I have a delay, which is a computer of slow add of 500 or 0. I have a busy so that I disable the button on the moment that I'm adding rows, that I cannot click, click, click and have like, okay, I'm now going to add 60,000 rows or 600,000 instead of.
And that's actually a good mechanism when we talk to the backend. We need to disable the button that it's submitting, because you don't want to send much requests and stuff.
No, I had a problem that I had a performance issue, but I didn't realize in my application that if I was clicking this thing like 4 times, it kept on adding data, and it took forever. And now it's basically it runs just once. That is what this signal is for.
We have a question from Bisara. He's saying, what about scalability for that approach? Is any obstacles you face to makes you have to work around it? Is the question means, is there's any problems when you're trying to scale the thing up, and is there's any obstacles or stuff that we had to work around it, or
Scaling up to what? I just showed the thing with I think 250,000 rows in memory in there,
yeah.
and it still worked. I'm not entirely sure on what size it wants, but if you're going to scale up, you are not going to hold this data in your content anymore. You're going to use pagination from the server.
Yeah.
So you're getting data by page. So this is already set up to work like that. You're using paginated data, and one of the most smart things, if you're working with lots and lots of data, use pagination. Always. Never try to get all of the data. because getting all of the data works fine if you are building your application. Because there is no data yet, so you generate like 25,000 rows and you start building things, and you just load in everything, and everything is hunky-dory. And then the thing goes to production, and suddenly there are no 25,000 rows, but there are 2.5 million rows. And now your whole application stops because you didn't take this in account, and it tries to load 2.5 million rows of data into memory, which is not going to end well. If you have set this thing up with pagination and say, hey, give me the first page or even give me the first 3 pages so that I have a little leeway so I can virtually scroll there a little bit. Most backends also have the possibility to give you the total count of things in the set. So you get a page with data, and you get some metadata that says, hey, in your filter there are 6,000 rows in your filter of a total of 2.5 million rows. And then you can update. I have those data in here. I'm on page 62 of 7,000. I have 175,000 available. And if I'm going to filter, I have 174,000 available. In the filter, there are 1,600. And now I have suddenly 80 pages. So, yes, this is the way you work with pagination. And pagination scales to infinity, basically.
Yeah. يبقى القاعدة اللي عندنا محدش يعني دايما لازم يبقى فيه pagination ما بين الفرونت والباك. دي قاعدة rule of thumb يعني. Always do pagination. Yeah.
So you can see I'm using my signal table thing. I will go to the signal table a little bit later. Then, again here, my table settings, which is just, this is just a normal component. I have a table footer again. Here you see I have the tfoot with pagination there. The same trick with the DOM node. So in here I have a little bit more. I did split this out because it's a little bit too large for my thing. I have a table row with a TD of call span 8. I'm using the good old cold span because it's there. This costs you nothing. It works fast. And then in there, I have a class wrap, which is basically a flex so that I don't have to think about where things are going.
Yeah.
And then I have my previous button, my range for the slider, current page of number of page count -1. I round down apparently, or up. And then available rows, total count, and in filter list length and number. This probably, I have an array in my memory so I can check the length. This should come from the backend in a real application.
Yeah. Sarah also have a question, but I'm not sure I do understand. If we implement the ng on destroy for the TR, it will never call based on that, right? Can you explain more, Sarah, about this? Because
I understand the questions. No, those rows are not going to be destroyed until they are going to be destroyed, because they are destroyed. If I'm adding more, now more rows are added. If I'm going to take them away, now rows are being destroyed. But those rows that are in the view will never be destroyed, which is correct, because why would I destroy a properly working row?
Yeah. اعتقد ان هو رد عليك هو عشان يطمئن قلبك. He's saying like I want my heart to be I want to feel yeah.
But if you want all your rows to be destroyed, then you can just use track by ID and all your rows will be destroyed. And if you then do pagination or stuff like that, look at the DOM nodes here. See what is happening if I scroll a little bit. And this is really, let me disable the filter so that I can do it a little bit more. I will hold it for a while. You see what this does for my DOM nodes?
Yeah.
This is going to hurt your performance.
Wow. Yeah, we can see the DOM node on the side. Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah.
And if I use track by index, which I know how many rows, I don't know, 20. I probably performance clear. Yeah, now I have like 131 rows, and that is the same always. There is no. That is why this is so much faster. You are not trashing your DOM. You're not throwing away rows and creating new rows just for the sake of throwing them away and creating new. So there is no. It's also faster programmatically because you don't need to destroy. You don't need to call destroy. You don't need to call init. You're not re-initing a component. You're reusing what you already have, which is overall faster. We are architecting for speed here.
Yeah.
And that is how you get speed.
Yeah.
Let me see. The signal table, which is a service that I'm using to hold all of my state of my table for what I'm using in the view. So I have my data service. Of course, my table needs data. I have my page, my size. I put it on 19, which fits on most screens, but it's a signal, so you saw me dragging that thing that I got more and less rows. That is the page size. I have a sort property, which is a person's prop. Basically, any of the prop, I can basically sort on any of the props that are there. I have an order. Am I sorting ascending, descending? Remember those things? I can sort on screen name or on descending or ascending. I have a nice up and down thing there. I will show that later on. I have the current page. I'm by default on page 0.
Yeah.
And I have a total count, which is the data total count. I have a list, and in here I get a list of all of the IDs on the backend. I set it up like this. This is probably not the smart thing if you have those 2.5 million rows. You need to do pagination. But I have this thing in memory, so that's why I do it like this. I have my sort property, I have my order, I have my filter, and I have the total count. If any of those things change, I'm creating a new list with the property. So basically, this thing is a new list of string. It is a list with all IDs in the correct order. And if there is filtering, the things that are not in the filter are not in the list. So it's just the IDs. I'm only getting the IDs. So it's basically SQL. I'm doing, if you know SQL ID from customers where property, where order is whatever. Yeah. And it gives you only the IDs, and getting only the IDs is so much more faster than anything else. And the database knows how to optimize this. So this is really how you would work with data. Aside of you really should use pagination on the server, and I'm doing pagination over here. What I'm here doing, I have my page size, I have my list, I have my current page. I do a little bit of mathematics, and then I say, hey, for the length of the page size, I'm pushing new IDs in my list.
Yeah.
So this is basically the whole pagination thing that I'm doing in the front end, but this should come from the back end.
Yeah, it will be much simpler than that.
It will be simpler than this, yes. Yeah. But you can see this is already very performant, and everything is always up to date because I'm using computers and signals. I can just inject this thing wherever I need, and I will always have the latest information.
That's an absolute, yeah. Okay, we have a question that says, okay, in my company, I'm going to translate the question. In my company, people are doubt about when we should switch or transition to signals rather than normal variables. also the using signals and observables. She's really confused about that. Yeah,
Let me unconfuse you. Use signals always. Period.
that's it. دايما
That's it.
استخدمي السيجنالز. استخدمي السيجنالز ومش هتقابلك مشاكل يعني خالص. Yeah.
No, and I can elaborate a little bit about that because yes, this is confusing. You can use normal properties, but normal properties are not reactive, so they will never update. If you're going to mix normal properties with signals or with observables for that, then you have to have this mental overhead that in your template you are using a normal thing and that might not be updated. And right now, if you're using Zone.js, that thing will automatically always work. If you're not using Zone.js anymore, it might not be updated anymore, even if you think it will be. If you have on push and you have like local properties and you update those from your code, they might not end up directly inside of your template.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a signal and you change the value, it will be rendered into your always. Period.
Let me translate this. So دايما لو احنا هنشتغل طبعا زونلس عشان خاطر الزونلس بيدينا performance اعلى وهنديتش الزون خالص. لو احنا استخدمنا variable عادي او local variable مش signal، لو انا بحاول ابديت الفاريبل دوت ومفيش change الممكن اللي change ده ما يظهرش على الدوم، فدايما استخدمي signals بس. اوكي.
Yeah, and on top of that, Angular is moving more and more towards signals, and signals in our far, far away future, probably we get signal components, and they don't need change detection at all anymore, because a signal knows it is changed, so the component knows it needs to update the UI. Mm-hmm. You don't need change detection anymore, because change detection is built into signals by default. So Angular team is working towards that, and that can take quite a while, but if you already start putting everything in signals, it will never hurt. Even if that doesn't happen at all, you still have benefits because it will be faster and it will be easier to reason about. And why should you not be using observables? I just mentioned easy to reason about. Observables are by definition not easy to reason about. If you have an observable, if I say, hey, this thing is an observable, you know nothing, because you don't know, will it emit once? Will it emit never? Will it emit 6,000 times? Does it have an initial value? Does it not have an initial value? Does it complete? Does it not complete? I don't know. I would have to look up the code to know all of those questions. And those questions matter, because depending on what the answer is, I might need to write different code. Signals have none of that. You have a signal has a value, period.
Yeah.
And you know what you can look at the type and you know what the value is. It can be undefined or like a person, but it has a value always.
Yeah.
And that is anything considering state should be using signals. Because state has no time. State is always one thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And the problem with observables is they are values over time. That means, okay, I have a value now, and I will get a new value over a second. Mm-hmm. But what is the value in between? I don't know. Probably the latest one, but that doesn't need to be so.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. Yeah.
So observables are confusing, and for modern Angular applications, you basically don't need them for forms, for backend. You really don't need them anymore. I've written a boatload of code, and I was going, I cannot miss my observables because I'm going to need those. And yes, I still need observables, but for very, very few things. Mm-hmm. Remember the button that I clicked on and it kept on going?
Yeah.
That's data over time, and that's observables. and that is the only observable part in this whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to highlight something else still. I got a question that I half answered, and now I forgot what it was. Let me think about it. Already. I think I'm pretty much through the code. I have the row, the settings, the table footer, the table header. Oh, no, I didn't have the table header. What is the table header again? Remember this thing where I have the up and down arrow, and I have like
Oh,
a
yeah.
different
Sorting.
sorting thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is all being handled by the table header. So there is some logic driving that thing. I think that is a really, really complex thing. So let's go to the code of that thing. Oh, let's see. Oh, it's a whopping 40 lines of code.
Okay.
So
yeah.
again, in here, I'm using table header. So it's table header of sort prop, which is my component selector. I don't even need the sort prop. It is just there so I can see it's not like a normal table header, but it is a component.
Uh-huh.
In the past, I just did T-body or T-head. And people got really confused, including myself.
Oh, yeah.
So I started adding like an identifier there so that I know, oh, there is brackets there. Probably that thing is a component and not just a DOM node.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I use a sort prop there. It imports the prop name component. I will go to that in a little bit. So again, I have my signal table where I inject my table. I get my soft prop out of the state of the table, and I get my order. And I have an order by function.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this thing is not called anywhere. We get to that. By the prop of person prop. And if I'm on the same prop, I'm switching the order. So if I click the thing 2 times, I'm switching the order. So I'm ordering. If I'm on a different prop, I'm going back to ascending and set that one as the current one.
Mm-hmm. But where
But
is
Sander, I'm not.
where is order?
Where is the
Yes,
order thing? Yeah,
exactly. Like where it fires from.
it fires from here. I have a table
Okay.
header prop name. Remember the prop name thing I had
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
The prop name is an input required of person prop. I inject my table header component. So this is my table header component.
Yeah, and you're using a host, like the host binding, like they call it like
No,
that.
it's not a host binding. I'm just injecting this thing because you know how the injector tree works.
Uh-huh.
This is a subcomponent of this thing, so I can use the injector to get anything that is above me. So I'm injecting my table header component. I'm calculating my arrow, which is, hey, if this order is 1, then I'm down, and otherwise I have
It's
a
a
error.
arrow
Remember
up.
the error?
Yeah. Arrow up and arrow down, and you basically like host it on click. You just on click function, it fires. That is really cool and simple. Yeah.
And I have a class active that is on active,
Uh-huh.
and the active is computed. This sort prop is this prop name, and this prop name is, of course, the thing that I just handed down here. So prop name is ID screen name.
Uh-huh.
This is all. Also, if I make a typo here, I get syntax highlighting because everything is typed. I'm not ringing anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Can we go back to the previous component?
to the prop name, yeah, and in
Yeah.
here I have the on click this table header order by this prop name, and here I'm calling the table header component. I'm just calling this function from here.
Hmm.
because I want this function once and not in every table header. That makes no sense to have this function like a gazillion times. Also, it doesn't belong in a service because it is really, really local to this thing.
When we inject the table header component, inside the
Name.
prop name, yeah, that means are we taking an instance of the class inside of each th, right?
You're taking the same instance of the same class.
The same instance of the same class.
It is just a reference, basically. So
Okay.
it's one thing. You're not importing like multiple things. It is just a link to the table header thing, which is already existing because I just created it here like one level higher.
Yeah. So there is no multiple instance created in this.
Nope.
I didn't know that. That's a really cool trick. Yeah.
Hey, I told you before, I'm here for the cool tricks.
Yeah.
But you see how things that I localized the state of this thing, and I was having basically in my first iteration, I was having a boatload of this code inside of my table header, and that became unwieldy. I had a boatload of code in here and a boatload of repeated things, and I was going, this is ugly, and then I optimized a little bit, and then I optimized a little bit more, and even a little bit more. And then I said, I really only need the prop name.
Yeah. And we have a question.
Yeah.
Can we see the filter functions from the filter component?
No.
Okay, no, sorry.
Do you want to see the filter inside of the signal table, or in the service, or do you want to see the highlighting stuff?
I think
because those
the service, we don't care about the service, right? We care about the.
No, it is really just an array filter that I'm using, so that is not interesting there.
Yeah.
I think it is in the table highlight.
Yeah, the table highlight. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back to the signal table component.
We have.
Remember, I have a table.
I'm sorry. We have two hanging fruits, localize as much as possible, and virtual scrolling thing. Okay, and we have around like 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. I will talk a little bit faster then. I have a table body highlight, which is again a special thing. The highlight table highlight TD. This is and the only thing that thing does is highlight body component, and it puts an input of string. This could have been a service, but I wanted this reusable in multiple scenarios. I'm only using it for this one table in this application, but basically this is something I copy paste from somewhere else. And I have a highlight TD table highlight. There should be a This is the thing that does the actual highlighting inside of my cells. It is a selected TD. Here I'm having no other things. I'm importing it inside of my table row. Let me see, table row component in here. Highlight TD component. Highlight TD component, and that here is the TD that is for the highlighting. So back to that is how it is hooked up. Back to the thing, highlight. I inject the element, which is just the table cell. I'm creating a shadow cell because if you are going to modify the DOM from an Angular component, Angular is going to break. Really, don't do that. But what you can do is create a shadow cell, and what I basically do is I get the original content out of the cell by just using view child. In here I'm using ng content, and I have this cell, and I'm using this cell to read the content, which is just normal HTML. I'm just reading this out. This is the original content, and then I have a highlight function. I take the original, I take the fake cell, and I have a function. I have a function that basically checks, do I need to highlight this cell? And then it will do the actual highlighting. And if it doesn't need to highlight the cell, it says, okay, I'm going to show the original cell, and the fake inner HTML, the fake cell, is going to be empty. I'm just throwing away. In the constructor, I'm checking if I indeed have this table body with the highlight. I'm injecting that too. Table body is inject highlight body component. Remember that body,
Yeah.
T-body with highlight. That is how I get my signal with the highlight. I add a shadow cell once because every TD needs the shadow cell thing. And after every render, I'm doing this highlight function. And the highlight is done as basically a drill down for all kinds of things, and only updates the fake if there is indeed a change needed. It takes the original text, it checks, okay, there is no original text, so I don't need to do this something. If there is no highlighting, I'm also don't need to do anything. Then I'm using a regex to check if it's there. If the original text is not there, okay, I don't need to do anything. Then I'm creating a new HTML with a replace, where I'm using basically the regex to replace the part that matches with mark match mark. So that is, I'm marking. I'm using normal HTML, normal DOM.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not doing anything. And if the new HTML is not the same as the existing one, then I'm updating. Testing is way cheaper than updating a DOM. So in this case, that might be a boatload of things that I need to highlight. So speed is of the essence. I'm testing. Do I need to update? Yes. If I need to update, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to hide original content. And I'm done. And I have replaced my thing. So I'm true. So it returns false. It puts the original cell back with no highlighting. And otherwise, if this all comes true and it comes on the bottom, it says, oh, probably I need to show this thing. And it will do that.
Yeah. But by the way, guys, you will have access to the code, so don't worry. ما تقلقوش، يعني ان شاء الله هنشير معاكم الريبو بتاع ساندر، فما تقلقوش يعني. Okay.
Okay. I'm going back to my presentation because I have a couple of more things to say.
Okay.
A question for all of you. When do we reach optimal performance? I probably should have had this slide a little bit earlier in my deck, but we're going to discuss this. When do we reach optimal performance?
تفتكروا امتى نقدر نقول على الابلكيشن بتاعنا ان هو performance خطير يعني؟ احب اسمع الاراء كده في الكومنتس.
I'm not going to wait until people answer.
Yeah.
I'm going.
But I will tell you what they said. Yeah.
Optimal performance if there is nothing left to take away. If the code is optimal, if there is nothing left to take away and it still does everything it needs to do, then we have peak performance for this part of the code. So that is how we reach optimal performance. Are the things you can take away? Are the DOM nodes that are basically not having a real function, just then wrappers to wrap? Are there gazillions of class names that you not really need, but you need like a proper CSS file? Things to take away. I'm not targeting Tailwind here. How do we know? We measure. You build something, you put in like a gazillion of data, and you just you have seen how I've done it. I have the testing. I had it repeat the thing. Measure. Fine, but what about signals? Signals enable a boatload of those performance optimizations. They make things so much easier to think about, and they are the big enabler. They are simple to reason about. Remember the KISS? Simple.
Yeah.
Localize the state. I think I've shown that in my demo code that I do really localize the state. The highlight is localized to the state, to the key body where the highlight needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything is localized. I'm not passing data back and forth. I inject the data where I need it. I have small service. I have a signal table service that has all the state of the table. Wherever I need access to the state of the table, I inject this service. I'm not passing those things around. I just inject the service that holds the state. Localize. And that is what you can easily do with signals. And they make everything reactive. You don't have to think about. You can put in like 6,000 new values and the UI will follow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are the future of Angular. This is where it is going to be. And this is where you can make in the future big speed bumps.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool. That was really, really cool. I've learned a lot today actually. في حد عنده أي سؤال؟ في حد عنده أي سؤال محتاج يعرف أي حاجة من ساندر؟ Sandra, there's a small thing I had in mind. We were talking about before we get into the meeting, the session, which is the type before the signal word.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that. Let me quickly find it somewhere. Type. Oops, not there. Type.
Everybody's thanking you in the chat, Sander. Guys, please follow Sander on LinkedIn.
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Buy Sky.
Yeah, Blue Sky and yeah.
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky.
This is my handle on Blue Sky. You ask me for why you are importing a type signal, because it is actually a type.
Yeah.
There is like a signal, which is the function, but there is also a type signal.
Yes.
So if you need a type, you're not can. In here, I'm getting an ID and I'm getting a type of signal, string or undefined.
Yes, but is adding the word type reduce something in bundle size?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It is taken away completely if you put a type there. If you don't put a type, it's probably taken away. But putting the type there makes it go away by definition.
Okay.
Also, it enables some extra things if you accidentally do something like this. Signal. It will tell me.
Yeah, you only refer
This refers to a type.
Yeah. But we can.
And which for most of the things this will work anyway, but there are things where it doesn't work like that. If you, for example, import a component, you can do a new component and you will end up in a world of hurt. You don't need to do that because you use the injector to get a new instance. Right. And if you but sometimes you need the type of the component to do something, and then you import the type for a type itself, because signal is already a type. So that makes no sense. But for things that are also classes and you want to use it as a type, that is where you really use the type.
So basically, if I said implements ng on init, I can actually on the top say type on init, right?
No, what I can do is I have the sample data service, and if I want to use that somewhere else, I can do const x is sample data service. I can do this, but now I'm using it as a type. And if I'm only using it as a type here, and I'm not doing anything else with it, like initialization or thing, I just need to type because I want to have x dot del by ID. I want to do something like this. Because I have access to the instance, but I don't have the class itself. And then you use it as a type, and then you import this as a type. Which makes no sense if you do it in the same program, in the same file. Does that answer your question?
Well, it did answer my question. I saw on the internet that people suggest that when you use ng on in it, you should actually add the type at the top when you import it, because you don't. I don't know, like you're reducing bundle size, but I'm not sure like this is actually reducing anything.
Actually, no. The only thing that using, because if you want to do on init, then probably you should do something like extends. No, implements. ng.
It's
init.
Yeah, it's on in it.
Implements on init.
Yes.
And look, I'm importing it indeed as a type.
Okay. So,
But this thing,
so we should actually do that.
yeah. No, not really.
Okay.
I always forget to do this because actually it serves no purpose other than the red squiggly if you don't forget to implement the on init. If I do this, the only thing is I have a red squiggly here that tells me, hey, you actually.
Yeah, you need to implement.
That is the only value of this thing, and now I have to do an ng on init, and now my squiggly is gone.
Yeah.
That is the only thing. But Angular is actually not looking at this thing. Angular just checks your class. If it has an on init, it will call it. It makes no difference. This works, and this works just as well. It makes no difference.
Yeah.
You have a little bit extra syntax checking there.
Okay.
Then again, with signals, you don't need lifecycle hooks at all anymore, basically.
Okay. I think we are at the top of the end of the session. Sander, you told me something before we start that you can do a something. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I can do a something. I can do a lot of somethings, but the something Ali is referring to is actually if you have questions, if you are looking this back from YouTube and you have questions, reach out to Ali, and I will be back in a week or 2 weeks to have like a small Q&A session to answer all of your questions. Unless there are no questions whatsoever, then I will not be back. But otherwise, I will be back for a short Q&A session. If you have any related questions around signals, signal forms, tables, speed, web performance, feel free to ping him. He's above me on my screen. I don't know.
طيب لو حد عنده اي سؤال في السيجنالز في السيجنال فورمز performance على فكره ساندر مش بس جي دي اي في انجلر هو جي دي اي كمان في الويب فهو كمان هو اصلا كان في فيديكس ويب performance انجلر ويب performance فلو حد برضه عنده اي سؤال في الويب performance حد عنده اي سؤال ممكن ساندر عنده استعداد يجي في سيشن كيو ان اي بس نحضر كده شويه اسئله حلوين وان شاء الله نستضيفه تاني يجاوب لنا على كل الميستريز اللي عندنا والحاجات اللي احنا ما نبقاش فاهمينها قوي. Sander, I would like to thank you so much for that offer, and I would like to thank you for this awesome session. Really, really cool session. Thank you for that. Um, I'll be posting the repo that would have the code. ان شاء الله هحط لكم الريبو اللي فيه الكود اللي ساندر كان بيشرحه، وتقدروا تخشوا على الكود تشوفوا الكود بالظبط، ولو حد عنده اي اسئله هستنى منكم الاسئله في الجروب على اما على التليجرام او ممكن على لينكدين. تبعتوا لنا الاسئله وكده. لو حد احمد لو محمد شحات يحط لنا لينك التليجرام برضو يبقى جميل جدا. ممكن برضو احط لكم اللينك بتاع التليجرام في الشات. ده اوكي، اللينك بتاع التليجرام في الشات، عشان برضو لو حابين تسألوا الأسئلة في التليجرام وكده. ممكن نجمع أسئلة كتيرة ونستضيف ساندر تاني. Thank you so much Sander for this wonderful meeting.
You're
And
welcome. I'm glad you were having me.
yeah, we are actually happy and glad to have you. Thank you so much, and we will see you again in a. I hopefully we will see you again in another session. That would be awesome, really. Thank you so much, Sander.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're welcome. See you next time.
Bye bye. See
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.